Hi, Nick Collier here, and this is my shop. Come join me. We'll have some fun. Well, hey, Nick Collier here, and today we start on a new project. This is kind of one that I build for myself to sell. Actually, I sell these little things on eBay, and for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been building these wood stoves out of 5-gallon old Army surplus cans, and I'll show you a picture of that. And then just lately, I kind of ran out of cans, actually. That's pretty much what happened. And I couldn't find any more. And so I thought and I thought and I thought, and I said, well, why not make it out of 5-gallon propane tanks? Now, the propane tank, the sidewalls are much more solid than those little chintzy 5-gallon cans. So I started in on this, and using the propane tank, this is my prototype. I built this little wood stove. Actually, this was the prototype, and I didn't like the door. It was too big. I mean, it still is functional, and it's probably even more functional because you can get bigger wood in there. But I didn't like the shape of the door, so we're gonna build them smaller with a smaller door, and hey, let's get started. I'll show you where we're gonna go. All right, well, after much messing around and lots of trying to figure out how to make these doors, because I wanted to make a kind of a cute little round door, and I tried angle iron and bending angle iron, and it kind of worked. It didn't quite work the way I wanted it to. Probably with some heavier equipment I could probably do it, but you know, you use what you got, right? So I came up with this idea of cutting schedule 80 6-inch pipe, and so we're going to cut this pipe, and then we'll machine it from there. So stick with me. We're going to have some fun. Okay, so I didn't want to just make legs. I wanted to make some nice looking legs, and these came out pretty good, I think. This is from the old style stove, but I'm going to use this same exact design on the new style stove. So basically what I'm going to do here is cut out this piece of angle iron at an angle, and here's our angle right there. So we just drop our saw down on here and start cutting away. Okay, so we've got 10 of this side made. Now we want to make 10 of this side, which means we've got to turn the angle iron upside down in order to get that angle cut. So I don't know if you can see it, but that's what's got to happen. We're about halfway through this first cut here, and then we move down 5 inches and take the second. Okay, this door takes 2 pieces. One is a little narrower than the other, and you can kind of see that here. So I'm cutting the door piece and the what is it called? The part where the door pushes up against piece. So we're going to go ahead and finish cutting that, and then we'll take it over to the lathe and show you what we're going to do over there. Okay, first problem I ran into is when I put this piece in the chuck, it kind of bottoms out on the jaw itself. So, and I needed to get this out a ways, and I didn't want to have to measure it each time. So I cut myself a really thin piece here, just as a shim. Put that in there. Put this on top of that. And we got ourselves a ball game here. So then I just come in and square up these faces first thing off. Okay, this is the wider striker side. And it gets handled just slightly differently, although this one side is fine. Okay, the next step, we've got both sides nice and squared up. The next step is come in and put a notch in it. And we will do that right now. Okay, well the next step in this whole process is to build a faceplate for the door itself, and it's got to be in some reasonably thick material, and I'm using 16 gauge, which is, you know, pretty good size. And I went and bought a 6-inch hole saw so I could saw out the hole in the propane tank, which works great. And then I thought, well, geez, I could just saw out some flat disc and put them on the, you know, and use the disc as the door. But the disc came out just like, oh, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch too small. Damn. So we just decided, okay, chuck that, and I'm going to go back to cutting it one piece at a time with the shears, which isn't too bad. And we're going to kind of zip you up here. Hang on a second. There's the shear. Where is that shear? There it is. Let's spin you around just a little bit. And we'll bring it in a little closer. There we go. And I've kind of started on one of them. So basically, I just take and draw a circle, and in fact I use the back side of the of the hole saw as my circle pattern, and then just bring it in and chop the corners off. I know it takes extra time, and you know, if I was in high production, I would have somebody make me a 6 1/8 inch hole saw, but I'm not in production. So basically I just kind of come in and just continue to trim this line until I end up with a 6, well, it's about a 6 1/8 inch. And there we go. What did it take? Oh, at about a minute. And in reality, it took about a minute to saw the hole. So it's not too much worse. So we got ourselves a 6 1/4 inch disc, or 6 1/8 inch disc, which is right there. And let me go get a ring and I'll show you how it's going to fit. I'll be back. Okay, so far we've got the rings with a notch to fit the door part. And here's the 6 inch one, and it just doesn't, I mean, it almost fits. It comes close. Dang. But this one here overlaps enough that I can come in and machine a groove in the back side of this, like right there. Take that much away, and then this plate will just sit right in there. And when I weld it, I just have to weld 3 corners or 4 corners or something like that, and the plate will be solid. So we're going to continue cutting these until we get 10 of them, because we're making 10, and we'll be back. Okay, well, so we stacked up all of our plates here. Now we're drilling our center hole for the vent, and that's okay. And that gets us a center. So now we'll be back in a second, and I'll show you the next step. All right, the next step is to draw a circle so that I know where my holes are going to land. And we're going to just bring that in just a little bit. Seems like a big circle, doesn't it? Maybe the better thing to do would be not draw a circle this big, but let's draw a circle the size of the radius. Be right back. Okay, so a circle the size of the radius, much better idea. Okay. Not as easy to do, of course. All right, there's one. And yes, we could calculate a third of the circle, or I just like to do it like this. Just make it a little bit bigger and just keep fiddling with it for, what is it going to take me, 30 seconds until I come up with 3 positions. Okay, let's throw a center punch in these. Okay, we got our 3 holes drilled, our 3 pilot holes. Now I need to come back in with a little bit larger hole. And I'm hanging on to this with a glove on because this edge is pretty sharp, and if it got away from me, it would cut me. Whereas with the glove on, it doesn't matter. If it gets away, so well. Okay, let's take it up to the next size hole, and this is 3/4. Okay, now that we've drilled our hole, we want to come back in and just knock off this sharp edge here, and just a little chamfering tool, or bevel tool will. All right, we got a hole. Okay, we made ourselves a little finger jig here. We put a square nut on there. Ouch! And that's to keep it. That's because I had a bunch of square nuts, and because they're not galvanized. In a sense, a couple of tack welds, and we're set to go. Okay, and that has this disc pretty well done, at least, you know, unwelded to the frame itself. This hole is for the air damper, and hey, we'll be back. I think that's going to be the end of my day. We've taken our tank, and I actually had to bust this off by grinding it and then just hitting it with a sledgehammer. It doesn't really matter. I'm losing that much brass though, which could matter a bit. But anyhow, so at this point now what we want to do is drill a 6-inch hole in that. So I've come up with a 6-inch hole saw that should work just fine. We're going to pre-drill this so that we get it in the right spot and everything like that. Let me go get a drill bit. Now, where I want it is about, it looks to me like this is going to be centered right about there. So, we're going to just go ahead and run center down there and see how it comes out. This will be the first time that I use the hole saw. Alright, there's that part. Alright, let's do it. Yeah, looks like it's going to hit just about right. Okay, so we got the heavy-duty motherfucker drill out, and I think this will do the trick. It certainly will give me the leverage. Now all I have to do is be able to hold on to the tank itself. So let's start cranking here. Let me put some headphones on. All right, let's give this a try and see if it's gonna do anything better. We're gonna put it on as slow a speed as we got. All right, that looked like I did a pretty good job. Let me take the bit out. Not bad. Got a bunch of flaky rough stuff, but you know, all of this is going to get welded, so nobody cares anyhow. All right, and we've got a little bit of oil in the bottom of this, so we want to kind of torch this and let the oil burn off a little bit. So I'll be right back. Okay, so we've cut the brass off the tank. We've cut the protector off of the tank. Now we need to get a hole cut in the tank. And the best way I found to do that, I got a little piece of wood up against the shaft of the drill press. I put a strap around that baby. Bring it around. And of course, it's a bit short. Let's bring it up here and get it to hook. There we go. Okay, and then ratchet that baby in place, nice and snug. It's not really going to go anywhere. It'll rotate this way, but it isn't going to go this way, and it isn't going to turn because we've got the drill bit holding everything in place. So at this point, we start drilling. Okay, our hole is cut. We'll be back. Okay, the next part we're going to do is make the two outer segments of our hinge. So that's a pretty simple setup here. We just come in and round off one end. Looks good. Let's see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. Not quite though, because I need to have a point there in order to fit into that. Into that jig I built. There we go. Now there's a point. Yeah, much better. Okay, we're going to do that 20 times, and we will be back. Okay, so we've got all of our one side cut. Now we need to cut the other side, and I've kind of set it up I mean, it's just a real quick setup. We're not talking about super accurate here. We're talking about just getting a shoulder so that we can have a hinge. And the way I've set it up is, I'm going to back this up. If you'll notice that I have a carriage stop right there, and that stops me at exactly whatever that measurement is, I think 3/8. And then I have this drill bit in the tailstock all set up so that when I put it in, I can bottom out on the drill bit, and that way the carriage stop is accurate. So then I basically have to just run the carriage in to 250 thousandths, which is a 1/4 inch. And I start at 90, which is a little rough for this lathe because this is a small lathe. I guess I'm cutting maybe 30, 40 thousandths per side. But it, you know, as long as I go slow, it handles it just fine. And we're not going that far, so it's no big deal. Now I just take 20 each cut, and it's a nice, reasonably clean cut. Doesn't push it too hard. And I've got 3 or 4 cuts here. So we're gonna do the other side of the hinge, which is the, in a sense, female side. And since this one is a bit off, I'm gonna go ahead and face it. Bring the drill bit in, and it never actually centers. As you can see, it's just jumping around. But if you just kind of go in slowly, it centers pretty well. And if I were doing accurate, I would be more careful, but this is a pretty loose hinge on a wood stove, which has to be loose anyhow because of expansion and contraction. So we got one side. We're going to flip this and do the other side. It kind of finds its own center. I mean, it's off, you know, probably 5-10 thousandths, but I'm not worried. Take it in about 3/8 of an inch, bring it on back out, square up our shoulder, and file that top edge so there's no sharp edges there. And we are done. Well, no, I've done 3 or 4, I've got 5 or 6 to go. Next step is making our little baffle here, and I've got a piece of fairly thin sheet metal. It really doesn't matter how thick it is. In fact, the thinner the better, because it needs to be formed. So we're going to cut 10 of these, or 9 of these, because we've already cut one. You ready? Go! Okay, so we need to come up with an adjustable flue, something like that, so that you just take this and turn it and it opens up the 3 vents in here and gives you a little bit more room. And the way I want to approach that is I've got a, let's see if we can take this off. Yeah. We've got a wing nut and a bolt, a specialty bolt, and with some threads and a nut behind that. Tighten the nut up on this piece here and everything's good. Okay, in order to get that little bolt head there, we're going to take a standard 1/4 inch bolt there and hit it with a contouring bit there and just bring it in. And that's pretty much that for that. Got a bunch more of those to do, but you know, hey,